Four people, colorful masks, and a wrestling arena in the heart of Mexico City. Nobody knew they would be there that night. No leaks, no official schedule, no preview posts from anyone. And then, the video appeared. Jimin, Jin, Suga, Jungkook, wearing lucha libre masks, a Mexican wrestling tradition more than a century old, sitting among the audience at Arena Mexico, enjoying the matches like ordinary people spending their evening out. And within minutes of that video first appearing on social media, the entire internet stopped for a moment. But not for the reason you might think. Not simply because the moment was funny. Not simply because they looked adorable in colorful masks. Not simply because these were four BTS members unexpectedly appearing in an unexpected place. There was something inside that moment that went deeper than all of that. There was something that made millions of people not just laugh, but feel something much larger. And you will find out exactly what that is by the end of this video. So don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. On this channel, we always look for what exists beneath the surface. Moments that appear light often carry meaning far heavier than what is visible at first glance. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because content like this that searches for meaning inside moments that seem simple is what we consistently bring to this space. All right, let's get into it. May 9th, 2026, Mexico City. BTS was in the middle of three historic nights at Estadio GNP Seguros, their first visit to Mexico in 9 years. 50,000 fans per night filled the stadium. More than 136,000 tickets had sold out across all 3 nights. The second concert night had already taken place that same evening, and 4 members, Jimin, Jin, Suga, and Jungkook, decided to spend part of their night in a way that absolutely nobody expected. They went to Arena Mexico. Not for a special show, not for a guest appearance, not for anything remotely professional. They went to watch a lucha libre match. And inside that arena, among an audience who may not have even realized at first who was sitting near them, the 4 BTS members were wearing colorful lucha libre masks. Like ordinary spectators. Like 4 people enjoying their night off in a city they were visiting for the first time in nearly a decade. Someone recorded it. The video spread, and the whole world stopped briefly to look. To understand why this moment carries the weight that it does, you need to understand one thing about lucha libre and what it means to Mexican culture. Lucha libre is not just a wrestling sport. In Mexico, lucha libre is cultural heritage. It has existed since the early 20th century. The luchadors, the masked wrestlers, are cultural icons whose status in Mexican society could be compared to mythological heroes. Their masks are not merely accessories. The mask is identity. The mask is name. The mask is an honor that is never removed. And when the 4 BTS members put on lucha libre masks at Arena Mexico, they were not simply wearing a funny costume. They were, symbolically, entering one of the most iconic cultural expressions of a country they were visiting for the first time in 9 years. Mexican fans who saw that video, who grew up watching their fathers, uncles, or grandfathers watching lucha libre, felt something very specific when they saw 4 Korean men who usually perform on stages worth millions of dollars, sitting casually in the arena stands with masks on their faces. They saw respect. Not the forced kind, not the engineered kind, not the kind that was prepared by a PR team to manufacture a moment for social media consumption, but organic respect from 4 people who chose, on their free night, to enter a space that belonged to local culture and enjoy it wholeheartedly. And then there was Jimin. Among the 4 members who were there that night, all of their moments were funny. All of their moments were endearing. There was something specific about the way Jimin enjoyed it that made clips of him become the most replayed. Jimin didn't just wear the mask, he was genuinely into it. There is a clip that caught Jimin looking completely captivated as he watched the acrobatic moves of the luchadors in the ring. There is a moment where he appeared to spontaneously stand from his seat following the euphoria of the crowd around him. There is a frame where he is seen discussing something with Jungkook beside him, pointing toward the ring, his expression full of excitement that could not be faked. This was not Jimin pretending to enjoy something for the sake of content. This was Jimin actually present in that place, his mind not somewhere else, not thinking about tomorrow's schedule or the exhaustion of last night's concert. This was Jimin completely, entirely being an ordinary human being enjoying an extraordinary night in a foreign city that somehow no longer felt foreign. And millions of people who watched that video felt exactly the same thing, that what they were witnessing was real. Not content, not a construction, real. But wait, because there is one detail about this Lucha Libre moment that almost no one has discussed in any real depth. And this is the part that changes the way you see the entire moment. Jimin, Jin, Suga, and Jungkook did not go to Arena Mexico on a completely spontaneous whim with zero planning. The second concert night had just concluded. They had just performed in front of 50,000 people. After a concert of that magnitude, a performer's body is typically in a condition that requires rest, not additional activity. But all four of them chose to go. They chose to spend whatever energy they had left not resting at the hotel, not going straight to sleep, not preparing themselves for the concert the night after next, but going out and experiencing the city. That choice, as small and simple as it may look, reveals something very important about how they are approaching this entire tour. They did not come just to perform, they came to be present. There is a very significant difference between those two things. Coming to perform means you are there physically, you do your job, you go home. Coming to be present means you open yourself up to the place you are visiting, to its culture, its energy, the things you cannot find anywhere else on Earth, but right there. And Jimin, together with Jin, Suga, and Jungkook, chose the second. And what is even striking is the reaction from Mexican fans themselves. Not global K-pop army, but ordinary Mexican people who were not specifically following BTS. The video from Arena Mexico spread not only within the ARMY community, it spread to the Lucha Libre community, to local sports news accounts, to Mexican entertainment media that would normally never cover K-pop at all. And the response from that non-K-pop Mexican community was very different from the usual. Not, wow, they're famous and they showed up here. Not a reaction directed at their celebrity status, but a response that felt more like they came to our space, they wore our masks, they sat among us. There was one comment from a fairly large Lucha Libre account in Mexico that went viral on its own. Translated, it read roughly, "We didn't know who they were before tonight, but after this night, they are part of the family." That comment received tens of thousands of likes from people who were not ARMY. And that, in my opinion, is one of the rarest achievements that can happen to an artist or group in the modern era. Being accepted by a local cultural community, not because of their fame, but because of the way they honored that culture. And here is the part that almost nobody talks about. If you observe the pattern of BTS, and Jimin specifically, in the way they approach every country they visit, there is one thread that runs through everything with extraordinary consistency. They always learn, they always try to understand, they always find a way to say, "We are here and we value this place." Jimin prepared a greeting in Spanish to deliver to fans at the concert. He read it from his phone, not from perfect memorization, not with a perfect accent, but in a way that made it feel even more human. In a way that said, "I didn't have to do this, but I wanted to." And then, on the same stretch of days, on a night off between concerts, he went to Arena Mexico and put on a Lucha Libre mask. Two different things, but both coming from the same place, a genuine curiosity about the place he was visiting, and a desire not to simply pass through it as a tour destination.
This is not something that can be taught. This is not something that any management team can instruct. This is part of character, part of how a person approaches the world around them. And for fans who have been following Jimin for years, the Lucha Libre moment was not a surprise. It was a confirmation of something they had known for a long time. Now, let's talk about Jin, Suga, and Jungkook, because this moment does not belong to Jimin alone. There is a very interesting dynamic in the composition of the four people who chose to go that night. Jin, known as the most expressively humorous member, who always finds a way to create joy around him. Suga, known for being quiet and efficient, who never does anything without a reason he believes in. Jungkook, who is always the most enthusiastic when discovering something new and interesting, and Jimin, who is always fully present in whatever he enters. Four different characters, four different ways of experiencing the world. But that night, all four found a single common ground: an arena in Mexico City, 4 colorful masks, and 2 hours that will probably be remembered as one of the most memorable nights of this entire tour. And the moment that was clipped the most? Not a dramatic moment, not an emotional one, but the simple moment where all 4 of them laughed together, where Suga, who usually appears calm and measured, visibly let his laughter out, where Jin was certainly in full entertainer mode, where Jungkook and Jimin, 2 people who have been close since Jungkook was still a teenager, sat side by side watching something that was new to both of them. 7 people who are so often seen as artists finally appeared as simply themselves. 4 people, colorful masks, a night in Mexico City. That's all. And it turned out that was more than enough. And here is where it all lands. In the middle of all the grandeur of the Arirang tour, the multi-million-dollar 360-degree stage, 50,000 fans per night, 136,000 tickets sold in minutes, a visit to the presidential palace, national trending charts, international media coverage, there was one small moment in a wrestling arena in Mexico City that managed to reveal something that none of that grandeur could capture. That behind all that extraordinary scale, there were 4 people who, when given free time, chose to go somewhere genuinely local, who wore masks that did not belong to their world, who sat among people who might not have known who they were, who watched and applauded and stood from their seats with expressions that could not be manufactured. And Jimin, who had appeared with the aura of a movie prince on the balcony of the presidential palace, who ignited Estadio GNP Seguros with rockstar charm, who is always the center of attention wherever he stands. That night was simply a young man with a colorful mask on his face, sitting in the stands of a wrestling arena in Mexico City, genuinely captivated by what he was watching. Those 2 versions of Jimin, the one on stage under the spotlight and the one in the arena under the colorful mask, are not 2 different people. They are 2 expressions of the same person. Someone who is always fully present in whatever he enters. Someone who never does things halfway. And perhaps this is precisely what makes 50,000 people stand at Estadio GNP Seguros night after night, and millions of others watch from afar. Not because Jimin is a perfect performer, but because Jimin is a completely real human being. So, now that question comes back to you. If you were one of the people who watched that Lucha Libre video for the first time, what did you feel? Did you laugh? Did you feel something warm? Was there something difficult to define but very present? And from everything we covered today, about Lucha Libre as cultural heritage, about the choice to be present rather than just perform, about how all 4 members spent their evening, which part resonated with you the most? Write it in the comments. I read everything, and I'm certain many of you have a perspective on this moment that has never been written anywhere. If this video gave you a new way of seeing what appeared to be a simple moment, but turned out to carry real weight, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That is the most direct way to support us in continuing to make content like this. And for the next video, I have been putting together something connected to what happened inside Estadio GNP Seguros on the 3rd night, the final night of the Mexico City concerts. There is one moment from that closing night that, after you understand all the context we have built together today, will feel like the perfect closing chapter for the entire Mexico City portion of the Arirang tour. See you there. And as always, thank you for watching until the end. That is what makes all of this worth it.